What up, what up, what up, party people? This is the Rasslin Café podcast. I'm your host, Killer K, and I got my homeboys with me, Chico and Big Southern. Say what up to the podcast world, folks.
What up?
What up, people? What's happening?
Man, I'm digging that. I hope nobody comes after me. I just had to use that Ty Dillinger theme because this podcast, in due time, if not already, we're the perfect 10. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yippers, the Rasslin Cafe, like I said, you can find that. You can find us on Twitter. And Big Southern, Chico, you guys want to plug your Twitters?
Yep, mine is at Big Southern.
And mine is at MK1483.
Alright, as we're recording this, Backlash is coming up on May 21st, so that's about 4 days from now. We're not going to dedicate this episode to that particular pay-per-view. So, but what's on the menu for this week's podcast is you got 50-50 booking, presentation, show presentation, predictability, and whatever else we need to serve up for you guys. So, what I mean by 50-50 booking is this, guys. Let's just say Dean Ambrose and The Miz. Dean Ambrose, one episode of Raw, he beat The Miz. The following week, he loses to The Miz. That's 50-50 booking.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So what's your guys' opinion about 50-50 booking as it relates to the story for the feuds? Or just overall, what do you guys think about 50 booking? Do you think that kills... Not kills, I don't know if that's the right for it, but if that ruins the storylines?
Sometimes.
Expand on that.
It's to me, it's pretty much like if you're trying to make both guys look strong, that's cool, but at least make it kind of realistic and don't do it all the time. Because, like, let's just say, for instance, if you have a guy, make it believable. Because, like, okay, if you have, like, a guy who is pretty much like the size of, let's just say Rey Mysterio, going against, like, a guy the size of, let's just say Seth Rollins. To me, it would be more believable if Seth Rollins were to win more matches than him. I wouldn't believe it that much if Rey Mysterio got a 50-50 win over Seth Rollins. It just wouldn't make no sense to me. It's just not realistic to me. But let's just say that you got two guys like, let's just say, The Miz and Randy Orton, Dean Ambrose. Then I can see the 50-50 thing. Because you are trying to make two guys look strong.
Yeah, but then who wants to watch, a feud where both guys, or one or the other, is just coming in and whomping down the other one time after time, and the one only gets a win, one or two out of, say, 4 or 5. Quite honestly, I think they stretch these feuds way too long anyway. In some cases, but the thing about it is if they're doing more of a 50-50 thing, then you're going to be able to, who's going to get the upper hand this time. Whereas if you're doing, I don't know, 75-25, you pretty much almost know that every time you put this together, this one will win or that one will win, whichever's, been kicking butt. Kind of like the best of 7 series with Sheamus and Cesaro a while back, where they ended up tied at the end and were supposed to have one more match to make the determining factor, and then that match went south. I forget what happened. I think it ended up in a DQ or something, but so that was a good 50-50 thing because for the most part all the way through, you wouldn't know who was going to win from 1 minute to the next. And in that case, Cesaro was kind of hurt. So the fact that he could win while he was dealing with that back injury was something to be impressed with.
But one thing too, if you go 75, let's say 75-25, a lot of times that will give like a face wrestler more of a, I don't want to say push, but that would pretty much give them more of a crowd reaction. The crowd would feel more bad for that person and cheer for that person more. And in the long run, when it comes to the actual match, like let's say at a pay-per-view or something, that one who really was only getting that 25, when they get that one in there, that's going to count for them bigger than the 75% that his opponent brought. And and I'm with Triple H with the slow burn thing. So I don't think that now some of the feuds, yeah, they do last a little too long, but I think that that the slow burn thing could be good for some
The fuck
people,
was that?
I have no idea. The slow burn thing be good for some people, for some wrestlers, but some no.
We must have a blind person in the cafe, but it's all good. We don't discriminate.
Sorry, guys. My apologies. I usually shut that thing off, and this time I forgot.
See, the thing is, folks, out there, in podcast land, Chico is our graveyard worker. He works until like 4 in the fucking morning, and we called him in to work, wait like an hour early. So, he's still trying to wake up. It's all good, though.
Yeah.
Sorry, Southern.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Well, yeah, it's all good sometimes, like the slow burn thing, and but like I said, the 50-50 thing is cool with me. Sometimes it's just like I said, it just have to be believable, and they can't do it all the time.
Okay, so when you say believable, let me give you my thing here.
Okay.
So Sasha Banks, okay, she's built up as this firecracker boss character, kick ass, right? So to speak. And when it relates to 50-50 booking, okay, she fought Alicia Fox 9 days ago on Raw. She won that match. And then the next week, she lost. So, do you think with 50-50 booking that hurts Sasha Banks' character? Like, what the hell? So you can battle back and forth with Charlotte, and you are having an issue. You lost to Alicia Fox?
Yeah, but one thing about Alicia Fox, though, man, Alicia Fox is a veteran. She been there, and she's just like one that people pretty much look over but she's tough. And Alicia Fox is probably damn near the same height and weight as like Charlotte. So, you know,
Yeah,
I can kind of believe that.
yeah, I get that though, but from a storyline perspective, seeing as we all know, Rasslin is predetermined. So if Alicia Fox has been a jobber most of her career, and then out of nowhere she just beats Sasha Banks, so the average viewer would say, "Oh shit, is Alicia Fox gonna get a push now? Oh, because she had victory." It's kind of like that Jinder Mahal thing. Okay, he's been a joke, and all of a sudden he's in the main event thing. So that's where I'm coming from when it comes to my problem with the 50-50 booking. I understand in the long run the slow burn thing. That's all about the story, and I guess they protected Sasha Banks by trying to say, oh, when she landed on the apron, she kind of quote tweaked her knee, so that's what caused her to lose. But I just find it that's where I see the 50-50 thing being a problem.
And I got go ahead.
No, I'm done. Go ahead.
Now I was just gonna say, you know, I think Jinder Mahal is more of a joke than Alicia Fox, though, because at least Alicia Fox has been the Divas champion before.
Right.
So I could pretty much see in her being like a more tougher competitor than, you know, just some average female that just come through.
So storyline wise, as it relates to 50-50 booking, when Sasha Banks wins the title, that means Alicia Fox should be in front of the line since she pinned Sasha Banks on an episode of Raw.
Right.
Yeah, but she would still have to work her way to the top in order to even, you know, because just because she beat Sasha Banks don't mean, to me, really don't mean anything. It's a win that she have in the books. But okay, if she was to pin Sasha and Sasha was holding the belt, or if she was to pin somebody who maybe, let's just say she pinned like a Bayley. If Bayley just lost the belt from Sasha, then yeah, then that should move her up. But if she beat Sasha without Sasha holding the belt, to me, that's just a win.
Well, I think it should at least.
It may give her a little more credibility, but that's about it in my book.
Well, I think it should at least. Sorry about that, Big Southern. I thought you was done. But it at least should put her, you know, in the title hunt. You know, regardless of whether Sasha had the title when she beat her. If Sasha's got the title, and then you know Alicia Box, I'm thinking Boss and Fox at the same time. My goof. Alicia Fox.
Fucking told you to drink that 2-liter bottles of Coke to wake your ass up, bro.
Yeah, I know. I got the Dr. Pepper sitting here, but I mean the fact that she did beat Sasha should at least put her name in the conversation. That should at least put her in line for maybe a number one contender match, to be put into some kind of a number one contenders match, you know, 6-pack challenge with some of the other divas, or, you know, whatever, women, whatever you want to call them these days. You know, something like that. You know, at least it should at least put her in the picture. Maybe not top of the line, but it should at least, you know, people should at least sit up and take notice anyway, is what I'm getting at.
You see, I could see both sides of the argument here. You know, Southern was like saying one thing and then you said another thing. And the WWE tends to do that inconvenience. And what I mean by that is, okay, this person all of a sudden pinned this person, but they've been on a losing streak. Okay, so all of a sudden you pin this champ in a non-title match, that makes you automatic number one contender. What about building up that character first? You
Right.
know? If you guys were on the creative booking, and you guys can go ahead and take turns, Southern and Chico, how would you guys, and you guys go ahead and pick a character with the current storyline, how would you guys map it out?
So are we talking about between any two wrestlers or Sasha and Alicia?
Just pick a feud that's going on SDL or Raw and just work with that. So you got AJ and Kevin Owens and that feud. How would you guys write that feud, or any feud, from either show,
Ooh, boy.
to help build their character and not kill the momentum, so to speak?
Well, a lot of like with AJ and Kevin Owens, both of those guys are really, really good performers. So, and both of them do have a strong character. And what I would do most definitely is basically most of the matches would probably end up maybe in a draw, because I'm just, well, like, let's say like most of the like televised matches and stuff like that, I would probably have most of them end up in a draw just to make both of the guys look strong. Because if you let's say you let Kevin Owens continuously pin or submit AJ, then AJ is going to be looking really weak, vice versa, if it was going on with Kevin Owens. So, like, let's just say, like, the major pay-per-views or whatever, have to put them, let's just say, like, in a cage match or something like that to pretty much end the feud. And that's when I would pretty much have either a pin or, submission or escape the cage, whatever kind of thing like that. Because just like, okay, I'll throw this out there, just like Monday when they let Roman Reigns beat Finn Balor, that pissed me off because I thought that was really stupid. They could have, and to me, that kind of weakens Finn Balor's character, because they could have just, pretty much let that match, instead of him pinning him, they could have had some kind of interference or something to stop that pin, because because like I said, to me, it just makes Finn Balor character look weak.
See, that that loss is kind of like that 50-50 booking at work there, because the previous week Finn Balor won a match, right? And
Yeah,
then,
but he didn't pin.
Wasn't Roman though.
Roman Reigns.
right. But what I mean by the 50-50 thing is that's what it kind of ties into what Chico was saying about predictability. I mean, someone can come on the show and then they're gonna have this match. You know they're gonna lose. When was the last match you guys watched thinking, okay, this is gonna happen, then bam, it didn't happen?
Been a while.
Not many.
I want to see how far back it goes, because I want to see how predictable the product has been. Like last summer when Cena had his trilogy with Styles, everyone knew how the outcome was going to be, or thought. They thought Cena was going to win the last match.
Yep.
But AJ Styles did. The year before that, Kevin Owens and Cena had the trilogy, and Cena ended up winning that. So that's why people assume that Cena was going to win over Styles.
Well, the last match that I can honestly say that was a little bit, and it was I was going either way on it, but it was a little bit where it was a surprise. It surprised me a little bit that they let, in a way, not totally, but in a way, it surprised me that they let, being that there's talk of Undertaker retiring, that they let Undertaker go out with a loss. His career was so good, and he was such a strong character and competitor all this time. Sending him out on his last match with a loss, kind of like, whoa, really?
But it didn't hurt Undertaker's character, though.
No.
See,
And that's what Undertaker was all about, putting a guy over because he already knew he was going to be riding out in the sunset, and he's just passing the torch.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed about it too, but I do see the point of why they did it.
I mean, that's kind of I mean, that was exactly what I was gonna say. When you pull back the curtain a little bit, veterans always go out on a loss to hand the torch over to the next up and coming guy, even if we don't agree with it or not. You know what I'm saying?
True.
So he passed the torch on to Roman, even though Roman's not the most popular dude. But hey, Vince sees him as the next big thing, quote unquote. Kind of like what The Rock did with Brock Lesnar back in 2002, I think it was at SummerSlam.
Yep.
The Rock lost to him to put him over because he was the next big thing. And I believe, of course, this could go either way depending on who you're talking to, depending on which resource you read. But that Bret Hart didn't want to put over Shawn Michaels back in Survivor Series on his way out back in '97. He wanted to drop the belt on Raw. Other things I heard, like he did not want to do the job on his way out to WCW back in '97. But with the 50-50 booking, though, to me, at least for me as a fan, that's what makes it predictable. Like I was saying a moment ago. Okay, The Miz and Dean Ambrose. Okay, based on the 50-50 booking concept, Dean Ambrose won by disqualification on Monday. So now they're going to fight at Extreme Rules. Who do you guys see in winning that one? Based on the 50-50 concept.
I believe The Miz is going to get it.
I disagree because, Miz is, he's been good, but, lately he's been back more frequently, more on a regular basis lately. But, a little while he was doing more of his movies than he was, and they all do. I know, I hear that, I get that. But he's kind of been, and especially with him all protective of the money maker, and when AJ Styles knocked out a couple of his teeth, it was like the world came to an end. Well, being that Dean Ambrose seems to specialize in these kind of extreme matches, look at all his street fight stuff and whatever. I believe that he is going to keep the belt.
Huh, interesting. I see The Miz taking it at Extreme Rules. I see, what's her face being the reason why. But as far as where Dean goes after that. But, I don't know. There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to this, guy. So I'm just, to me, 50-50 booking, I just think it ruins it. Even if you subscribe to the slow burn. I understand the whole storytelling thing, but it needs to happen all across the board if they're going to use 50-50 booking, because look at Braun Strowman. He's been built up like a monster. From memory, I think he's only been pinned like twice, maybe 3 times since.
Something like that.
But see, it's believable with Braun Strowman, far as the dominating thing. That's why I was talking about. If you're gonna do 50-50 booking, don't do it all the time and make sure it's believable. And see, with Braun Strowman, 50-50 ain't believable. I can see Braun Strowman going 90-10 because look at him.
Right.
Well, of course, I don't like the whole slow burn thing. Not that I don't dislike it all the way, but I'm not a big fan of it. But at the same point, the whole thing with the gender and Randy, it hasn't been really big since it started. So I think if I was going to write that one, they would have had a couple of matches, and I think I would have used a little. I mean, if they're going to try to give Jinder a little push, even though I still think he's like a joke, but if they're going to try to give him a push for whatever reason, why they waited as long as they did, God only knows. But if they're going to do that, then they should at least have a couple matches prior to this pay-per-view thing. I mean, I don't like these feuds that go 6-8 months. That gets a little old after a while. But at least a couple, good matches. Maybe you can use a 50-50 on that, and then, like Kay said, to use the pay-per-view to end it.
Man, as far as long-term booking is concerned, quote unquote, if it's done right and if it makes sense. Okay. Perfect example. I can't remember which Mania it was. First time ever. The Rock and John Cena. So for a whole fucking year, John Cena had all these battles with everybody else. And I understand in real life that The Rock couldn't attend and contribute to the feud due to, outside commitments, but that's what I don't like when you do the slow burn stuff, because okay, so you spent a whole damn year building up a feud, and yes, I understand the whole slow burn storytelling shit, blah 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 blah. Can't remember. You guys remember who won that first match? It was The Rock, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah,
but then there was one.
The Rock won the first one.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the one, it was like John Cena just come in and beat the holy crap out of him, which is kind of what you expected, because he's, not been, he had an extreme amount of ring rust, is what what it'd be called, because he, you hardly see him. But that's why I don't like slow burn. I don't do all that hype for, like that, but they do it all the time, especially come WrestleMania.
Right, I mean, it's kind of like that Triple H Seth Rollins thing. There was a slow burn there due to real life shit with Triple H, because he's not just a wrestler. He does other stuff, so that's why he probably couldn't make TV on time. And I don't know. I don't have if it all makes sense, guys, I don't have a problem with it. But lately, as a fan here and there, maybe it's me being too old, quote unquote, or reading too many of the dirt sheets, that kills the moment, or I don't know what it is, guys. It's like what Chica was saying a while back. I can tune into a show, and I already know what's gonna happen, and that kind of ties into the presentation aspect of these shows. I mean, that I was mentioning. Opening promo, it's gonna be 10-15 minutes, and then it sets up matches for the main players of each show. How do you guys feel about that? As far as, would you guys book SmackDown or Raw differently? Some people, let me give you an example. Some people out in the IWC say, "Man, fuck all that talking. Just come straight to a match, have at least 10-15 minutes, interview, and then come back, do another match, yada yada yada." Now you got 15-minute promo. It's like there's no point for me to pay attention to the beginning of the show because I know what they're gonna do. So I can just, when it comes on, I can just go smoke a cigarette, whatever. Cause by the time I'm done, because Raw is gonna. I mean, when they come back from commercial, they're gonna replay that shit anyways. Oh, if you're just tuning in, if you missed it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
I don't really have a problem with the talking. It's just to me, the way that they could cut down on a lot of that is if they did it like they used to do it back in the day. You know how back in the day they had pre-recorded promos, and they would play the promos as the guys were coming out to the ring.
Yeah, I
Now,
remember that.
some of the promos I don't mind if they are live, but at least if you had a live promo, do like a couple, and that's it. But the rest of them, let them be pre-recorded and just stick them on the screen as the guys come out to the ring, where you'll save a lot of time. And they need to cut the promos down too, like the live promos. They need to cut them down from that 15, 20 minutes to like 10, something like that, and just leave it alone. Because I do understand that they try to have some fillers or whatever, that like fill in time or whatever, but I mean, come on, man.
Well, I guess on some of the really big feuds, I'm not a big fan of this pre-recorded promos thing. As soon as Southern said that, I thought, ew, that I don't think I mean, I'm not a big fan of these promos. Period. I mean, I know you got to do it, especially with some of the bigger feuds, because if you don't, it when the matches happen, it's like, oh, okay, there was nothing to it. So if you don't do the promos, if you lose the promos altogether, then it makes for pretty sucky product. But I'm not a big fan of starting out with the 15-minute promos on Raw. That's just kind of ugh. And I it's wrestling because it's wrestling. It ain't. If it was going to be talking, you might as well run a talk show.
One of the things I've noticed ever since, and this is probably due to outside commitments with Stephanie McMahon and all that shit, but ever since Kurt Angle has been GM, there's, quote, less talking, more action.
I like
You
that.
don't see him on screen that much compared to Stephanie McMahon, which, I will admit, I kind of miss that Stephanie coming out being a little bitch. And the IWC tends to get that way too. Like, there's not enough talking, or there's not enough wrestling, there's more talking. But now, at least in my opinion, maybe it's just me, because I miss it, because I've been so conditioned to Stephanie coming out and talking for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. So, do you guys want a wrestling heavy show? Or like Raw, or do you want Raw like how it used to be? Stephanie comes out, she does her opening promo bullshit for 15 minutes. So how would you guys prefer to watch Raw?
I have not missed Stephanie McMahon one bit. I don't really like. I've never. Well, of course,
Well, I'm
that
not
goes
just
back to
talking,
my whole
Stephanie
heel
McMahon. I'm
thing. But
just talking in general. Like Shane McMahon comes out and talks for 10, 15 minutes. Basically, that opening promo, I could do without it.
yep.
Well, I like Stephanie McMahon myself, but that, like you said, that first 15-minute, 20 minutes, whatever, with her coming out, and not necessarily her, anybody, come out there and just talk for that long. I mean, that's ridiculous, because I think it was like, when was it? Like the week before last. I think it was the week before they did the London, the UK tour show or whatever. That that's particular Raw, man, I think they wasted like almost 25 minutes at the beginning of the show before they even got the first match started. I was like, really?
Yep.
I said, man, this is ridiculous. So, I mean, the talking don't bother me all that much. I just wish that, well, I think it's better than it used to be too, because now I remember when they talked a whole bunch on the show and they only used to pull out like maybe 5 or 6 matches, but now they have more matches than that. And I think that's good. So, and just like Triple H have said, a lot of times the reason why they do a lot of the talking is because, they pretty much are trying to fill up time, because, they used to be 2 hours and now they have to write for 3 hours. And, it's to me, they do have the talent where they can put on matches and everything, because we done talked about this before too. I remember when TNA only had an hour of TV time, and they used to put on like 10 matches in an hour and still have talking too. So that's why I'm like, dang, man, what's up with these people? Got 3 hours and you only put like 5 or 6 matches on, and the rest is talking? Come on now.
So when it comes to the 10 matches versus the 6, in my opinion, when you watch the show with the 6 matches, it tells the story better. The 10 matches just sound like a chapter book. You know what I mean? Like, okay, match 30 minutes. Okay, what did you accomplish in that 30-minute match versus the other match on the other show that was 10 minutes.
But you know what, TNA though, they had a storyline that they started or whatever, but they just pretty much went, you know how they tape anyway, but they kind of went from week to week going on with that particular storyline. And they'll probably just show you like a flashback to stuff that happened and why we are in this match right here, which made a lot more sense than them coming out there and talking and repeating the same thing over and over again. So, yeah. I mean, that made more room for them to get those 10 matches in there.
Well, and see, I don't tune into wrestling for the talking. Like I said before, if I tuned into wrestling for the talking, I might as well tune in for a talk show.
Most people feel the same way.
Yeah. I mean, I watch wrestling because I want to see them, beat them up, bang them up, whatever, So I like the fact that Angle is eliminating a lot of that. And what I really like is he's eliminating a lot of this in the back stuff. He's eliminating a lot of the backstage arguments and attacks in the back and all that, because he's saying, okay, we settle our problems in the ring. You two want to fight. That's what you're going to do. You got a match. So you get a little bit of that backstage, infighting or whatever, and Angle's right there to break it up and say, all right, here's a match. So, I like a lot of that better that way. So that's what I like about SmackDown. SmackDown has a little more of that backstage stuff than I like, but they have a lot of matches too.
See, the talking thing has its place, though. I mean, I remember Trish Stratus over the years have always been critical about the Divas division back in the day, because this is where the talking comes in that is beneficial, and that is, if you don't let them talk, how are you going to build their character? Because you can know all the moves all you want. You can be the baddest wrestler on the planet, but if you ain't got character, according to Vince, you ain't shit. But then again, as I was saying that, I thought of Roman Reigns. Sorry. But, it's just like, it's all about the character, because it ties in with the stories. Stories have character. You were starting to say something, Southern?
Yeah, the only thing that I was just pretty much going to say is, like Kurt Angle is really not doing anything new that, something, he's not doing anything that haven't been done before, because remember Teddy Long used to do the same thing. The only
Yep.
difference with Teddy Long is Teddy Long was the king of tag team, 6-man tag, 8-man tag, 10-man tag, but still, when there was a problem, he always said, pretty much for saying, we gonna settle this in the ring, and we gonna have these people against these people, and this and that and the other. So, Teddy Long pretty much cut down on a lot of the talking stuff too.
Rewinding to
but after Teddy Long left, they started back with the talking.
rewinding back to the 50-50 booking. Like last night on SmackDown, AJ Styles lost. Randy Orton won his match. But okay, so and then you also tie in the predictability piece. So I, for one, didn't see AJ losing, even though he was protected with the loss because Kevin Styles hit him with the belt. But when I was watching the Randy match, I'm not gonna lie, man, I'm sitting there going, okay, Randy won the match. Jinder came out, did his little promo, and then, okay, Randy got jumped, but Randy almost got the best of him. But the numbers caught up to him. So that tells, I mean, storyline-wise and booking-wise, obviously that states that Randy's going to win. Even though we know, behind the curtain that we knew that Randy was going to win. But if you're the type that doesn't read dirt sheets, that doesn't understand how the wrestling business works, you would think, oh shoot, they got the best of Randy. So he might actually win. So that's what I mean with the 50-50 booking. It ruins my enjoyment. But then again, is it really the 50-50 booking, or is it just too predictable, like I'm starting to lose interest? And I really hate to say that I'm starting to lose interest in wrestling, because I've been a fan since 1990. I just wish they would make it less predictable.
WWE has always had a habit of that, haven't they? I mean, of course, you guys know I've only been watching it since 01, but WWE as a whole, I think, has had a habit of making it predictable. And I don't know why. Maybe it's Vince. Maybe he's out of touch. Of course, how much of it they let the general managers decide, I don't know. Because of course,
hold
we all
on.
know about.
Let me pull this out there. Elsewhere, and I want to give Big Southern the floor here. I want you to rant like you did the other day. Elsewhere, I think you were ranting about Vince and being out of touch or whatever. So how about we give the audience who's listening that piece? Do you remember that rant that you did, Southern?
Yep. I was basically talking about how I feel like Vince McMahon, he's fell out of touch with the modern day wrestling fans, because he's still looking at these big dudes such as Roman Reigns, who have no kind of talent whatsoever. Now I'm going to give Roman talent far as him being, he's a good athlete. Yeah. Okay, I give him that. But the man does not have any kind of personality. He don't. And anybody who think he don't have any personality either. But anyway,
I guess I know.
He but Roman Reigns, man, he cannot. He's not a good talker at all. He's not developed like a lot of these other guys. Like, okay, Vince McMahon had an issue with Kevin Owens. Look how good of a wrestler Kevin Owens is. Kevin Owens is not no big built dude. He's a fat dude that can just he can wrestle. And just like, okay, Finn Balor is a small dude. But Finn Balor, if you let Finn Balor get out there and wrestle, you're gonna forget that Finn Balor is a smaller dude. Because the way that he wrestle, he bring it. Just like Shinsuke Nakamura. Vince McMahon didn't even he had an issue with Shinsuke Nakamura, and nobody can really figure out why. And Shinsuke Nakamura is really not a small dude. Shinsuke Nakamura is like 6'2", and he's like 225 pounds. That's not a small guy, but Vince had a problem with putting. That's why I said that I was so happy that Triple H is there, because if it wasn't for Triple H, a lot of these guys would probably be gone if it was up to Vince. But I think that Vince need to move over, and he need to just go ahead and let Triple H take over. And do I want to see Vince every now and then? Yeah, but as far as him having any big say, like yay or nay in the actual who wins match and who go where, I don't think he should have anything to do with that no more, man. Because he's done falling out. He's falling out of touch. And just like he was wanting to put Shinsuke Nakamura on Raw, Triple H call was to put him on SmackDown, and it worked out in Triple H's favor. Although, if they would have put Shinsuke on Raw, it would have been good for him, but it still would have overshadowed a lot of these other guys. Like Finn Balor was coming back, and pretty much Shinsuke wouldn't have gotten every bit of the pop that he got if he were to come and go to Raw with other guys whose status is just as big as his. So Vince just need to roll up, and let Triple H take over. And I'm not talking about Stephanie. I'm not talking about Shane or none of that, because in my opinion, Stephanie and Shane, they don't have a wrestling mind like Triple H do. Triple H understands the business better than each and every last one of them, because Triple H actually was a wrestler and still is a wrestler. So that's how I feel about it.
I think that's part of the issue here is you said Triple H is a wrestler. He understands the wrestlers. He understands the boys, blah, 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 and the women. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, wrestlers were on the booking committee. Now you got at least in the E, it's Hollywood writers. That's probably part of the problem for what you see on TV, because these guys, they don't have a wrestling background. They're not wrestlers. They're Hollywood writers. And as far as Shinsuke is concerned, Vince has always had a problem with something that wasn't his creation. So Shinsuke was huge in Japan. Sting was huge in WCW. Haven't you guys noticed that Vince, if or when he gets his way, if you are not a WWE creation, he's gonna run you to the ground, or try to at least. And then here's Triple H, advocating for that individual. Maybe the reason why Shinsuke hasn't been on TV is because maybe Vince is one. Hey, Shinsuke was a New Japan product. Oh well, he's not a WWE creation, and his English sucks. AJ Styles got the better part of the deal because Jericho went to bat for him. And by the way, speaking of Chris Jericho, I don't know if you guys, I don't like this type of music, his music, but if you guys go on YouTube and look up his song Judith, it's actually pretty good. And I'm more of a hip hop, you know what I'm saying? I would check that out if I were you guys. Cheap plug for Jericho there, but I was listening to that last night when I actually found his podcast and listened to it on my phone. But I digress. So, what do you think about what Southern said, Chico?
I I halfway agree and I halfway disagree. I'm I'm not a fan of Vince overall. I don't like him, and one of the reasons I don't like him is because he's a heel, and we have already had that discussion as to where I stand on the heels. But I can kind of agree with not only agree with what some of what Southern said. I do think Vince is too old, and I do think it's time for him to let it go. I'm not a big Triple H fan myself, so he is definitely not someone I would want to pass the torch to. I like Shane better, and the fact that Shane's crazy and Shane will do just about anything, and he brings unpredictability to the table. Um, I'd like to see him with more control, but that being said, I do see where you're coming from, Kay, about the fact that Vince, if you're not a WWE creation from the start, you don't get much push. But then again, isn't that fair? I mean, isn't it fair to give the WWE people that have been around from, their beginning more seniority and status over, you know?
Wow, that's a good question there. What do you think about that, Southern? So do you think, like, for example, Booker T had to scratch and claw his way to the top because he was a WCW creation?
But the thing,
Whereas a WWE like around Roman Reigns. Where Roman Reigns is right now after 3 years, it took Booker T years to get to that point. Multiple title reigns and yada 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 yada. I don't think it's right just because, he took out the company that the other person was working, so now this person's going to come work for him, so why are you going to try to fuck with his push? When you know he has the skill.
but you remember now, Booker T came to WWE with the WCW title. He was the champion when he came. But when he got there, he still had to, pretty much build his character there too. And you already know when he came, people already knew who he was and everything. And I think it had a lot more to do with, some people may disagree with this, but I really think it had a lot to do with race too. I have to be honest with that because, how many, I don't want to make this a race thing, but truthfully, how many black WWE champions have there been? And we are not going to say The Rock. And if you want to go there, then The Rock is more. He leaned more towards Samoan, and the actual WWE title, no black man has held that belt, none. But the world title that came from WCW, they didn't mind giving that belt out. But anyway, so let me touch on a little bit of something right quick. All right, so Chico, you say you don't like Triple H and you think that the thing should be passed on to Shane McMahon. And this is my thing about that. You do know that Triple H is playing a part, right? He's not really an evil dude. He's playing a part. And the thing about with Shane, if you pass the torch from Vince to Shane, then all you're really going to be doing is getting about the same thing, because neither one of them have a wrestling mind, like a wrestler, like Triple H. Triple H has a wrestler's mind because Triple H is actually a wrestler, and he understands what the people go through. Now, as far as marketing and stuff like that, yeah, Shane and Stephanie all day long. But when it comes to the wrestling mind or the wrestling concept of the show, that's Triple H in my book. And I mean, I think you're taking the heel thing a little too seriously, if you ask me.
Well,
When
yeah,
it's
but Shane.
when it's basically just a put on. It's just a show. It's not real.
Well, I get that, but like Shane McMahon, for instance, while he was never a full-time wrestler the way Triple H has been, one of the reasons Triple H ended up where he's at is A, he married the boss's daughter, and B, I think he kind of had to back off on the wrestling because of all the concussions he's had. The thing I like about Shane is that, if they let him make a lot of the, do some of the stuff, this guy is absolutely crazy. He's like Dean Ambrose, and he'll do anything he can do to put on a good show. And I just feel that he could, first off, this whole creative writing thing, I've never understood why they do it. I don't know why they don't just put matches together. I mean, I get that you need a little storyline, but if I want storyline, I'll watch a soap opera. When I watch wrestling, I want to watch good old-fashioned wrestling. I don't care too much about the storyline. I just want to see people, good, talented wrestlers go out there and have these matches, and that's what I see wrestling for. If I want to watch, story, movies and soap operas for story.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, man. Not to be mean, but if you had your own wrestling organization, you wouldn't get too many fans, because people. You got to have something behind the why. Why are these people fighting one another? You got to have something behind it. You can't just say, "Oh, we're gonna throw y'all in the ring and y'all gonna fight." And for what? What's the reason? I mean, it has to be some kind of storyline behind it.
Well, yeah, but you don't put storyline behind the other sports. I mean, the problem with wrestling is it's become too much entertainment as opposed to the sport of wrestling. You don't put a bunch of storyline into baseball, softball, basketball, whatever, racing. You don't put all that storyline into racing. You just got good old-fashioned sports.
Tell you the truth, there pretty much is a storyline behind them. The other team is trying to win.
Well, that's what it's all about, trying to win.
Yeah, and
competition.
Exactly. And see, that's the storyline for in wrestling too, is competition. And it's like, who, I'm better than you, or whatever the case may be. And sometimes they do it by hook or crook, but it's still storyline. And you got to have, and if you don't have a storyline, then how in the world is a wrestler going to build up any kind of personality at all or character? I mean, I wouldn't want to just see two big guys jump in the ring and start fighting for no reason. It's like, okay. So, I don't know, man.
So you got a problem with characters, Chico? Did I hear you right?
It's too much of that. It's in my opinion, it's too much of it. I think you need a better balance. I understand it's, without having it would make it a little boring, but I think you need a better balance in this stuff. I mean, this whole, I don't know, this whole thing with just building so much story as opposed to actual competition and matches. It just, I know you need some of it. I get it. I totally understand it. It probably would be pretty boring without it all the way, but it's all out of balance in my opinion.
Since we're talking about presentations, so to speak, with the product, let me ask you guys. I don't have the tweet in front of me. I was gonna have it ready, but I hope you guys know what I'm talking about. What you guys see on TV versus what you guys see elsewhere. What do you guys' thoughts on that? And this is what I mean. Randy Orton sent out a tweet this past weekend with the hashtag dive. Did anyone hear anything about that?
No.
Southern?
Okay, are you talking about the tweet that he when he was going back and forth with Bully Ray?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did see that.
So what do you guys think about that? I mean, on the indie circuit and some wrestlers, it's flip flop, high flying, super kick, super kick, super kick. Versus telling a story. What do you guys? Which one would you guys prefer? People flipping around, super kick after super kick after super kick, da da da.
But the thing about it, to me, even with like New Japan and Ring of Honor and TNA, all of them, you know, they just have a different style of telling the story, but they still telling the story.
So you don't think doing, and maybe Randy's exaggerating here, 10 super kicks, you don't think that's overkill?
I do think that's overkill. Yeah.
It's
because you don't have to do 10 super kicks and this and that and the other. And just like, okay, Shawn Michaels did, he gave you sweet chin music, and pretty much that was a super kick, and the match was over.
Exactly. I was about to say use that same example. It's kind of like what Jake said, Jake the Snake Robert. Everyone now does the DDT. He remembers 20 years ago, the DDT would be the end of a match. Now everyone's kicking out of a DDT. Now everyone's using the super kick. What do you guys think about that as far as where moves were 20 years ago to now? Like, Southern was saying, okay, Shawn Michaels boots you with the sweet chin music, bam, match is over. Every now and then, someone would kick out, and you're like, oh my god, he kicked out. Now it's like, he's going to kick out because there's probably like 2 more super kicks coming. You guys get where I'm coming from?
Yeah, so I think the moves need to be, they need to use a little more variety on a finisher. Like, you can't always finish with a super kick or always finish with a DDT or RKO or, well, RKOs are good because that's, he pretty much is the only one that uses those, but you need, like, more of a variety of moves. I mean, just like Brock Lesnar's F5, that's always, and that's fine to have your signature finishing maneuver. I mean, if you don't, what do you have that's your own anyway, if you're just going to use everything else? So, I get that, but I mean, I think the moves need to also be a little bit more creative in some ways. I mean, I like Roman Reigns, I always have, pretty much since the Shield broke up. But his spear, everybody does it. So, like, really?
Yeah, ain't that the truth? I noticed that when Goldberg was doing his run, man. It's like Edge did the spear. There was a woman on the roster that actually, I think Nikki Bella did it once. Fucking everyone's doing the spear.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts about the moves, Southern, as far as, should it be only used for the finish of the match? Do you think people should be kicking out of it all the time? Like, oh my god, Shawn Michaels kicked out of the tombstone. Oh, Undertaker kicked out of the super kick. I thought the match was over. Blah 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 blah.
Now I remember hearing even Jim Cornette talk about that and Jim Ross, and both of them pretty much said the same thing, that how I feel about it. I think that, once you, just like if you have another guy, if you have another guy to hit a finisher that, that they pretty much just use as a regular move or whatever, a everyday move or whatever, that makes your finisher look weak. And the people be like, well, how come they sitting up in there doing this move every day and you do it one time and you get to pin a person, And it's like, to me, a finisher ought to be a finisher. And it should be only on very, 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 very special occasions where a person might kick out of the move. And that's like if that match is really intense, and this person is just, if they kick out of the move more than once, then I think that's a crock of shit. But if they kick out of it, wait a minute, what did I say? If they kick out of it twice, I should have said, I think that's a crock of shit. But if they kick out of it once, okay, I can deal with that. But a finisher ought to be a finisher. And that's just all to it. Like when Stone Cold did his stunner, it was over. When Hulk Hogan did his leg drop, it was over. It was just Undertaker did his tombstone back in the day. It was over. You knew the match was over. So, I mean, just like Jake the Snake, I've heard him talk about it too, about the DDT thing. Everybody is doing the DDT now. And it's like the DDT is just an everyday move now. And that's ridiculous. I think that's really crazy. And as far as the spear goes, I'm sick and tired of seeing that too. Roman Reigns do it now. Rhino was doing it. Rhino still do it. He called his the Gore. Edge was. What female was doing the spear? I'm thinking was it one of the Bellas that was doing the spear?
Yeah, it was Nikki Bella. So. Nikki Bella.
And I think it's crazy, man. They need that spear. It's time for them to retire that.
I think the reason why they do the moves like the spear, because Vince he wants that cheap pop. Man,
it's ridiculous though. Straight up ridiculous.
Yeah, but on the flip side of that, if you always use those moves to finish a match, then doesn't that go back into the predictability thing? As soon as you see that move, you know that match is over.
Yeah, but a lot of times
doesn't that help?
Go ahead.
Doesn't that help the longevity of these matches? I mean, you get, especially with some of these huge feuds, you get these guys pulling out their finishing maneuvers, and you think, oh, it's over. The Styles Clash, it's over. The Powerbomb, it's over. And then all of a sudden they kick out of it a couple of times, and you start to see where the guys are going, okay, what do I have to do to put this guy away?
But one thing about AJ Styles is AJ Styles have a unlimited amount of finishers. He don't just stick with the Styles Clash. He do that. He do that elbow. He do the he got a submission. He got he do a lot of stuff. But to me, those moves, just like the RKO, Randy Orton could catch the RKO from anywhere. So it's like, okay, it don't matter if they use that, they have a signature. That's their signature. And if they hit it, it's over. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And just like Batista, when Batista did the power bomb. Oh yeah, and Batista was another one that did a spear. When they did a power bomb, when he did the power bomb, it was over. you know, and it didn't matter if you see if you it was predictable that it was going to be over when they hit that. That's the whole point. Just like Kevin Owens when he do his that pump up power bomb, you know, he can hit that from anywhere, and that's the beauty of it. I mean, you never know when it's coming. That's what I like. But
Yeah, but with these
when
big,
it do come, you know the match is over.
wait, yeah, but some of these big feuds, right? You know, it really makes it interesting when, at least to me, because you've had what seems to be a long match. You're like 10, 15 minutes into the match. You're thinking the match is about over. Somebody hits their big move, whether it's, you know, Kevin Owens and his pop up power bomb, whether it's, you know, Styles and one of his, you know, final moves, or Miz's skull crushing finale, or, you know, whatever the case may be. And you're thinking, all right, it's over. It's over. It's been a long match. They've been back and forth, back and forth. But, you know, especially when they've had multiple attempted near falls in the process. And you're like, okay, so now it's done. And then, oh, wow, he kicked out of that. No way.
What I like to see is with these multiple finishers being used, if you've used the super kick 5 times, 4 times in a match, I would like for them to use a different move to finish them off. Like, okay, fuck sakes, I can't finish them off with the super kick, so why even keep trying? You know? As far as that goes, that's what I would like to see. And another thing about finishers or finishing of a match, I know it's part of the presentation, but it fucking annoys me to no end when they do the dumb shit that they do before they do the finishing move. Example, stomping the mat. You know, Shawn Michaels doing the stomp, 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 stomp before he does the kick. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys think they should just go straight into their finisher? Or they should have to really psych up the crowd first?
It's an interesting one.
Big Show, before he does the choke slam, he puts his hand in the air and starts screaming.
Yeah, they
But
waste a
see,
little too much time with
sometimes when
that.
even when Big Show did that, sometimes though, and a person probably like his opponent may have saw it or whatever. Sometimes they would they would do something to pretty much stop him from getting the choke slam. But
Yeah.
I mean, but that basically, like you said, that basically just signified that it's time for the choke slam, because he would put his hand in the air and like, and all of that kind of stuff like that. So, you know, I think that,
Well,
you know,
the thing I think they need to, yeah, the thing I think they need to really get rid of, though, is they'll do their signature moves like that, and then it's after that when they're sitting there wasting time doing what my grandma likes to call showboating, because they're, you know, all, you know, doing whatever they're doing before they pin, and it's like, you're wasting too much time. You're wasting too much time doing that crap. And then what ends up happening is their finisher move becomes ineffective because they did all that, you know, 30 seconds of whatever in between the finisher maneuver and trying to do the pin.
If I was wrestling Shawn Michaels, and because he used to have it just to come out of nowhere back in the 90s, bam, kick, super kick. Now he's, like I said a moment ago, he's stomping the mat, winding up. If I was on the ground, unless I'm completely knocked out of it and completely dazed, I can hear him stomp the mat. And I'm like, oh shit, he's about to blast me. You know? I just don't like that. And like Matt Hardy before, or Matt or Jeff Hardy before they do a swanton or whatever, they do a stupid little scream. Lito used to do that. Stupid little scream. It's like, dude, just shut the fuck up. Just do your move.
Yeah.
So, but random question here. Random question here. What do you guys think about reactions towards certain aspects of what you see on the television product when it comes to the shows? Let me give you an example of my question if it did not make any fucking sense. Okay, so this past Monday on Raw, did you guys see it coming that Goldust was gonna turn on R-Truth?
Yep, I saw it coming. I saw it coming.
I didn't see it coming, but then again, I didn't give a shit because I never really cared about that team.
Well, I didn't care, but I did see it coming.
Okay, so based on a viewer's aspect, was there any hints that he was gonna turn on him?
Nope.
Kind of, sort of.
Really?
It was nope, but the hint didn't come until that night when R-Truth basically was telling him, "Oh man, I'm sorry about that. What happened," and Goldust was like, "Oh no, man, it's cool. We this, that, and the other." I was like, "Yeah, whatever. He's about to turn on him." Now I didn't know it was going to be on Raw that night, but I knew it was coming. But they pretty much did it faster than what I thought was gonna. I thought they were gonna like pretty much have a match at like a pay-per-view or something, and then he turned on him. But they actually did it on Raw. But that night I did see it coming. Before then, no. What made me see it coming was when R-Truth started talking to him and telling him that, man, I'm sorry about the loss, and then when Goldust was like, "Oh no, man, it's okay, we a team," and I was like, "Yeah, he about to turn on him." So,
well, remember, they have never really been on the same page. Not really. I mean, they've had their moments. But they've never really, at least in my opinion, they've never really gelled as a team. They've never been able to pull off too many wins or anything else. I can't remember if they've ever had a chance at a tag title shot. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know. But they've not been real good. They're not a good together team like Jeff and Matt, or they're not a good team together like Sheamus and Cesaro are, or anything like that. They were never really, they never really got it together. So it didn't really surprise me that it ended like it did. But then I didn't, like you, I didn't care, and I think the reason I didn't care is because there was nothing to it. It was, that team was never all that good to begin with, so it didn't really matter. They were both good as singles competitors, but that tag team didn't hold water.
See, the thing is, going back to the dropping subtle little hints or whatever, I honestly thought R-Truth was going to go heel on Goldust. Because, he's like this favorite veteran, so to speak. But man, when Goldust, blasted R-Truth, there was barely any reaction besides, I mean, there was a reaction, but it wasn't like, boo, fuck you, you know what I mean? It was more like, thank you, Goldust, you know what I mean? But I don't know. I mean, like I said, there was no reaction. Nobody gave a shit. Because back in the day, when you beat the hell, if you turn on your partner, the crowd boos and they start feeling sorry for the other person that got their ass whooped. I don't think nobody gave a shit about R-Truth getting turned on. Getting getting betrayed. But like I said, I thought it was gonna be R-Truth turning on him, and he's in a movie now with Trey Songz, um, Blood Brothers, WWE produced movie. So somebody tweet me out there at KillerK80 and tell me what you guys think of the movie after you see it, because honestly, the only WWE, and only because my kids wanted to watch it, um, the only WWE produced movie I've watched was Knucklehead with the Big Show. Have you guys seen any WWE produced movies?
Oh yeah, I seen a few of them. I saw the one, the Chaperone that had
Triple H.
Triple H. Yeah, and I saw the movie that had Batista and Rob Van Dam in it. I can't remember. Was it Sidekick or something like that? I can't remember what it was called, but it was okay. I saw one of John Cena's movies. The what was it? I don't think was it the Marine that I saw. And then I saw the Marine, and I saw what's that dang movie? Seven? What is it? Goodness, I can't remember. I seen some of them. Some of their movies are good, and some of them they could have kept. But a lot of those movies did help a lot of these other wrestlers, get in the door with Hollywood, though. So. But yeah, man, WWE do a pretty decent job at putting movies out. I think that they need to do another No Holds Barred movie.
I think the most enjoyable. Okay, how do I put this? I think Kane, shit, my bad. His character, how do I put this? It's like his character on TV matches the movies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what
he was in.
Yeah, I wish they would do that.
Resident Evil? Are you talking about Resident Evil?
No, it was See No Evil.
Oh, See No Evil. That's right. Resident Evil's a video game.
Yeah, that's a fucking video game. What the fuck? That's what
another one of them.
Yeah, that's what I don't like. It's like, similar. Okay, dude. So let's just say, because I don't watch the movies. If he's a bad guy, evil guy on character on TV, I mean, why change his character in the movie?
Right.
I would sync them together. So.
Yeah. But, another thing, man, that I always wanted to see, and I thought that it would be really, really cool. I always wanted to see The Undertaker do like a movie like Kane did. I think it would have been really sweet to have both of them in that movie. I really think so. I think it would have made it would have made it a lot more spookier. Even with Bray Wyatt and like Braun Strowman and Eric Rowan and Luke Harper, man, they would have made a movie, about them. Basically, I don't know if I would have called it. I probably would have called it something dealing with Wyatt. That would have been really crazy. I really believe that they could have wrote a script around them, and did a really good movie that would have probably went to the movies, the theater, rather than straight to the Blu-ray DVD. Because that's pretty much how the movies go straight to DVD.
Yeah, go straight to DVD, man, because the E-Note's not going to be our winner. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I should go you don't get some of these movies and check them out, man. But I know
I mean,
Randy.
some of them are worth time, or worth the time watching, and they are kid friendly, so they ain't gonna have no naked women and then dudes in it or nothing like that. So I ain't got to worry about that.
Man, I got kids, so I'm always, getting like surfs up and shit like that. And
Yeah.
I think Undertaker was in that one, right? Undertaker surfs up,
I don't remember. I don't even think I seen that movie.
which was hilarious because Undertaker was casted as this guy with just he was actually hella funny in the movie, but the character on TV is like, dead man walking, mysterious,
Yep.
evil, whatever. But if nobody hasn't seen that, don't knock it because it's a WWE. I mean, maybe it's just the kid talking in me, but I actually really enjoyed it, and the fact that it was weird seeing Undertaker show personality like that, because he was fucking funny. I mean, if you can bring yourself down to a 9-year-old level, 10-year-old level, whatever. But so yeah, before we wrap it up, you guys have any more thoughts? I mean, we talked about a lot of good issues here, a lot of good topics. The 50-50 booking thing, I can't stand. The slow burn thing, uh, I'll put up with it if it makes sense. But that also ties into the predictability. Why do this fucking slow burn? Do a slow burn when there's an unexpected result, is what I'm saying. You know? I mean, don't have this long, drawn-out feud and then end it up with a match loser leaves Raw. Fuck's sakes, I know who's gonna leave. I know, like Kurt Angle the other day, or not the other day, but the hair versus hair match. I mean, I didn't know that Kurt Angle. I heard this on the Bruce Pritchard podcast. I can't remember everything about that topic, but basically it was Kurt Angle's idea to get his head shaved because everyone thought it was going to be Edge who was going to get his head shaved because he was the one that had all his hair and shit. So it would make more sense to have him get his head shaved in that match over a decade ago. But it was Kurt Angle because Kurt Angle wanted to cut his hair anyways, and the E was like, no, let's just do a hair versus hair match. And you can get rid of it then.
Yeah, and it was the whole thing of Kurt Angle wanting to change up his character too, and that's why he actually wanted to get his hair cut off.
I like those hair versus hair matches.
I think it was one of the best things Kurt Angle did to change his, to go bald, because to me, it made his character look more believable and more ruthless with that bald head, in my opinion anyway.
There was a time when there was a lot of bald guys here and there, and now these days everyone has a beard.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, I can't remember the match, but it was during an 8-man tag match on Raw. My daughter goes, "You know what, Dad? I just noticed something." I'm like, what? Everybody in this match has a beard. And I'm like, huh, as much as they get paid, you would think that they could go out and buy a fucking shaver, right? Well, I didn't say that talking to her, but the other part I did, but it's just and then that's another thing too, as far as presentation is concerned. People get their panties in a bunch over what people should be wearing. And I just listened to a podcast the other day on Stone Cold podcast. His guest had beef that the wrestlers were both wearing black tights, and he's like, I have a problem with that because they both look the same. At least have one person wear a different attire versus the other, or at least change the colors. the what they wear to the ring and how they should dress. Should they be wearing tights, or wrestlers like Dean Ambrose was wearing a shirt on Monday? Because the assumption is, oh, if he's wearing a shirt, he must be out of shape. So how do you guys think they should come out as far as their wrestling attire?
I actually think what Kevin Owens wear is cool. I think that your attire should match your personality. Like Stone Cold. Stone Cold came out there and like the jean shorts and the skull T-shirt or whatever. That didn't mean that Stone Cold was out of shape. And Kevin Owens, he actually wrestles with a shirt and his gear on, and he do that because he probably don't want people to see his stomach, all of that, because he's a big dude. But the thing about it, he may be a big dude, but the dude is in shape. He can move still. And I just think that it should be that the dress up should be basically go along with the character, just like Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt don't wrestle shirtless. And Bray Wyatt, he's one of the ones with the long Duck Dynasty beard. Braun Strowman got a long beard. I'm not Roman Reigns. What's his name? Eric Rowan and Luke Harper. They got long beards. So, that's just their character. And all of them wrestle with shirts and diff their gear on, and they don't come out in the wrestling trunk stuff, the traditional wrestling trunks. I think that made a lot of stuff even better, in my opinion, because if everybody come out in trunks and everything, that's like, man, whatever, that to me, it just make it generic to me.
Some people will say it resembles more of a athletic contest. I mean, because there's always been that thing where it's like, okay, is wrestling a sport? I mean, we all know that it's not, but some people use that argument who don't watch wrestling regularly. They don't want to be. They're trying to be a sport. I mean, who in the fuck wears a kilt to the ring? Blah 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 blah. You know what I mean?
I still see it as a sport.
Yep. I don't care what they wear.
You don't care what they wear.
I don't care what they wear. And I think for me it goes back to what I like about wrestling. The way I like, the things that matter to me in wrestling have nothing to do with what they wear, have nothing to do with the character side, any of that. So I guess that's why I don't care what they wear, because that's not what it's about for me. I know I'm weird, and you guys are thinking, what in the world is this dude smoking? How much crack has he had today? But I just, it's just not about that for me. And, maybe it's, I mean, y'all heard my alarm earlier, so, maybe it's a sighted thing. Maybe it's because I don't, maybe that's why, but it just doesn't matter to me.
Oh, okay. On that note, guys, we're gonna wrap up this podcast for the Rasslin Café. For those out there listening, if you made it to the end. So, yeah, interesting discussion, guys, and whoever's gonna be doing watching Backlash, I hope you guys enjoy it. And just like the song that's taking us out of this podcast, we hope you guys find that pay-per-view to be a 10. Until then, thank you for visiting us or listening to us on this podcast, and we'll see you guys again. Peace out, people.